Welcome to our deep dive. We're going to be exploring something fascinating and a little bit eerie. Reincarnation. We're going to talk about the work of Dr. Jim B. Tucker.
Dr. Tucker.
Yeah, he's at the University of Virginia, and he's been researching this for over 40 years.
Oh, wow. 40 years.
Yeah. He's been studying these children.
Children.
Yeah. Children who seem to remember past lives, which is pretty wild, right?
Yeah. That's incredible. And how does he approach this? Like, is he trying to prove reincarnation?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
He approaches it all scientifically, which I think is really important.
Yeah.
He's not trying to, definitively prove it, but he is very meticulously documenting and analyzing these cases.
And that's what makes it so compelling, right?
Right.
Like, if someone was like, oh, yeah, reincarnation is real, you'd be like, okay, prove it.
Right, exactly.
But he's actually looking at it from a scientific lens, so that's really cool.
Yeah, let's talk about some of these cases.
Okay.
This one really caught my eye.
Right.
Kemal Atasoy. Have you heard about him?
I don't think so.
He's a 6-year-old boy from Turkey.
Okay.
And he started talking about this past life
Hmm.
as a man named Karakas,
Okay.
who lived in Istanbul. Have you ever been?
I have not.
Oh, it's beautiful.
I had heard.
But anyway,
Yeah.
it's hundreds of miles away from where Kemal actually lives.
Wow.
Yeah.
So it's not like he could have just, been driving by and seen it.
Right, exactly.
Yeah, yeah.
It wasn't just like vague talk, though.
Yeah.
He knew specific things about Karakas's life,
Like what?
like his name, his profession.
Mm.
Karakas was a leather goods dealer.
Okay.
He knew details about the house, even like the name of a woman who lived next door. It's great.
Wait, hold on, sir. How could a 6-year-old boy know this? That doesn't make any sense.
It's wild.
Like, yeah, that's what I'm saying. This is why we're talking about this. It's so intriguing.
So, a psychologist,
Okay.
Dr. Jürgen Kyle,
Okay.
decided to investigate. And he traveled to Istanbul.
Wow. He actually went there.
Yeah. He really wanted to verify all of these details that Kamal was saying.
Okay. Yeah.
And what he found was astonishing. Almost every little detail that Kamal had given
Okay.
matched up perfectly with the life of a man named Karakas,
Whoa.
who had died in the 1940s.
It's like finding a missing puzzle piece, but for life. You know what I mean?
It's crazy, right?
Yeah.
Like, it just fits, even though it seems totally impossible.
And that's the feeling you kind of get when you look at a lot of these cases, It's like, whoa, this shouldn't be possible, but it seems to be, Like, it challenges how we think about memory and how we think about identity and who we are. Like, what if we were someone else before,
Yeah, there's another case I wanted to touch on. William.
William.
Yeah, he's this young boy
Okay.
from the U.S.
Okay.
And he claimed to be his own grandfather reborn.
His own grandfather.
Yeah.
Whoa, that's wild.
He didn't just recall certain events.
Like, he remembered stuff his grandfather did.
Yeah, yeah. But he had these birthmarks
Hmm.
that corresponded to his grandfather's fatal gunshot wounds,
Oh, my God.
it's intense.
Yeah, that's heavy.
Yeah. And even he used to say this, he'd tell his mom,
Yeah.
who was his grandfather's daughter.
Right, right.
He'd say, "Don't worry, Mom, I'll take care of you,"
Wow.
which is what his grandfather used to always say.
That's kind of beautiful in a way. It's like this.
That's bittersweet.
Yeah, it's bittersweet. This thread that goes through. It's like love. Love is surviving through lifetimes.
Yeah, and that emotional component, it comes up in so many of these cases.
Yeah.
It's not just about the facts.
It's like a feeling, right?
Right. It's this sense of recognition, like a familiarity.
Yeah.
It's beyond rational explanation.
Yeah, yeah. That's what's so cool about it, right? It's like there's something beyond what we currently know.
So we've got Kamal,
Hmm.
we've got William,
Yeah.
but there's so many more, right?
Oh, yeah. There are tons.
It's like in Thailand, there's Chanai,
Okay.
who had birthmarks that matched gunshot wounds of a deceased school teacher.
That school teacher.
Yeah, at 3 years old, he led his grandmother to the teacher's former home,
Oh, wow.
which she'd never even been to.
That's wild.
Yeah. And then there's Nisip.
Misa.
Yeah, he was born in Turkey.
Okay.
And he had all these birthmarks that correlated to stab wounds
Hmm.
on this man who had died 50 miles away.
It's like these children bear the mark, the physical mark of their past life, It's crazy.
Almost like a tangible link to a previous existence.
Yeah, yeah.
Then there's Ratana
Okay.
from Thailand.
Hmm.
She insisted on visiting this temple.
Okay.
And she recognized a nun there that she claimed to have lived within a past life.
Hmm.
And the nun actually confirmed Ratana's story about this woman,
It's like, it's not just the children saying it, it's other people corroborating these stories.
Exactly.
That's wild.
And this woman had died before Ratana was even born.
Wow.
Then there's Jnanatilka
What a name.
in Sri Lanka.
Okay.
She's amazing. At 3 years old, she started talking about this life as a man named Tilakaratne.
Tilakaratne. Okay.
And she described his family members accurately and even recognized some of them in person.
Wow.
And even crazier, years later as a teenager,
Hmm.
she still recognized this woman who had been Tilakaratne's friend,
Really?
even though the woman had aged significantly.
So her memories, or like whatever it is, it stayed with her.
Exactly. And it's not just isolated incidents. We're seeing this pattern, this recurring phenomenon
Yeah.
all across cultures and continents. It's amazing.
That's what makes it so fascinating to me.
What do we make of all this?
But no, it's like, what is going on?
It's like, is this all coincidence?
Yeah, right.
Are these kids making stuff up?
Yeah.
Or could there be something more?
It really makes you wonder, like, what if this is real? What if we have lived before? It's a crazy thought.
Researchers have considered those, like the usual explanations.
Yeah.
Like fraud.
Right. Like maybe someone is making this up.
Right. Or coincidence.
Yeah.
Knowledge that maybe they acquired through, normal means.
Yeah.
Faulty memory, even parental suggestion.
Right. Like maybe the parents are kind of putting these ideas in the kids' heads.
But in the strongest cases, those explanations just don't fit.
They don't.
Like it's too specific. It's too, like, emotionally resonant.
Yeah.
So if it's not those things, what are we left with?
Right. It's like, if it's not that, what is it?
The idea of reincarnation.
Yeah. Is that the only other option?
Well, it's a possibility. Hard to ignore when you look at all the evidence, right?
Yeah.
But before we just jump to that conclusion,
Right.
let's explore some other potential explanations.
Okay, let's do it. I'm intrigued. Like, where do we even go from here? It's like, what else could it be?
So we're not talking about fraud or coincidences. What are some of the other explanations that researchers have considered?
Well, one possibility is ESP.
ESP.
Extrasensory perception.
Yeah.
Like, could these kids somehow be tapping into information about the deceased through some kind of psychic ability?
That's interesting. But how would that even work?
Right.
And how could you even test for something like that?
Exactly. EST is a really tough thing to study, scientifically.
Yeah.
And even if we say, okay, maybe ESP exists,
Yeah.
it doesn't fully explain everything we see in these cases.
What do you mean?
Like the intense emotions, the birthmarks
Right.
that correspond to injuries,
Hmm.
these specific details. It goes beyond just sensing information. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It seems like there's something more complex happening.
Okay, so maybe ESP is part of the puzzle,
Yeah,
but it's not the whole picture.
right.
What other theories are out there?
Another possibility that's been looked at is possession.
Possession.
Yeah, like the idea that the consciousness of a deceased person somehow inhabits the body of a child. This idea exists in different cultures, belief systems,
Right.
but it doesn't quite fit the pattern we're seeing in these reincarnation cases.
Why not? It seems like possession could explain, memories from a past life.
Well, while possession might explain some aspects, it doesn't address the specific details and those emotional connections that we often see. These children aren't just like reciting facts.
Right.
They're expressing feelings, relationships, personality traits
Right.
that seem to carry over from a previous life. It's more than just information. It's
Yeah.
like a sense of identity.
So we've considered those normal explanations, even some paranormal ones.
Yeah.
And none of them seem to fully account for what we're seeing.
Yeah.
So does that mean reincarnation is the only option left?
It's certainly a hypothesis that deserves serious consideration, but it's important to remember that Dr. Tucker's research doesn't claim to offer definitive proof of reincarnation. What it does offer is compelling evidence that challenges how we understand consciousness and suggests this possibility, right? That memories, emotions, even physical traits might carry over from one life to the next.
That's a big idea. It makes you wonder, like, if reincarnation is real, what are the implications?
Yeah.
Like, does everyone reincarnate?
Right.
Or is it just certain people? What determines who comes back and who doesn't?
Those are great questions, and unfortunately, we don't have those answers yet. Research is still early. There are a lot of unknowns. Like, we don't even know how memories and emotions would be transferred from one life to another.
Mhm.
There's no biological mechanism for that we know of.
It's almost like we're at the edge of what we understand scientifically, you know? Like
Yeah.
peering into this realm that science hasn't fully mapped out yet.
Precisely. And that's what makes this research so exciting. It's pushing those boundaries of what we know, forcing us to consider these possibilities that might have seemed really out there just a few decades ago.
So where does this leave us? We've got these compelling cases, a range of explanations, and a whole lot of unanswered questions.
Mm-hmm.
What's the takeaway for our listeners? Why should they care about this, even if they're not sure what to believe?
I think there's a couple of important things to think about.
Okay.
First, this research challenges us to think differently about consciousness. It suggests that consciousness might be more than just a product of the brain, that it might have this continuity that goes beyond our physical bodies
Mm.
and our perceived linear timeline.
It makes you wonder if consciousness is like a wave, you
Yeah.
know,
Yeah,
like ebbing and flowing, maybe taking on different forms, but never really disappearing.
that's a beautiful way to put it.
Thank.
And second, this research encourages us to question our assumptions about life and death. We
Mm.
often live with a very limited view of what's possible, constrained by our beliefs, our cultural beliefs, and our scientific paradigms.
Right.
But these cases, regardless of what you ultimately conclude, they invite you to step outside of that box
Mm.
and consider the possibility that our current understanding of reality might be incomplete.
It's like we're being asked to expand our awareness,
Yeah.
to acknowledge that there might be more to the universe than we can currently see or understand.
Exactly. And that shift in perspective, that can be so freeing.
Yeah.
It lets us approach life with more curiosity, more wonder, and maybe even more compassion.
So we've explored some mind-boggling cases, right?
Yeah.
Pushing the boundaries of what we think we know about life and death and consciousness.
It really makes you think. What I find so fascinating is that this research, it doesn't shy away from those big questions. It dives right into who we are and what happens after we die.
And it does it in a way that's like, hey, think for yourself. Right?
Exactly.
Like Dr. Tucker doesn't present reincarnation as this proven fact. It's more like, here's this compelling possibility based on years and years of research.
It's a different approach, right? In a field where there's a lot of speculation and, people just making claims without any real backing.
Right.
He's like, here's the evidence, here are the limitations. Now what do you think?
One thing that really stood out to me as we talked about these cases is this idea that we might be more than our physical bodies.
Right. It's not just this meat suit.
Exactly. Like maybe there's a part of us, a consciousness, a soul
Yeah.
that can exist independently.
It's an idea that's been around for ages, in philosophy and spirituality.
Yeah.
But these reincarnation cases, they give us this unique way to look at it. They suggest that consciousness, it might not be stuck in the brain or limited to just one lifetime.
Like a caterpillar transforming into a butterfly.
Yeah.
The form changes, but something essential it carries over.
Beautiful analogy.
Yeah.
And it makes you wonder, if consciousness can survive death, what does that mean for how we live now?
Right. It adds a whole new layer to our choices,
Yeah.
our actions. Like, what if our experiences, our relationships, have implications that go beyond this life?
It changes everything, doesn't it?
It could really change how we interact with the world, with each other.
Imagine if everyone lived with that understanding, that our actions have these ripple effects, not just now, but in future lives.
Wow.
We'd have a greater sense of responsibility,
Yeah.
compassion, connection.
It's a powerful thought. One that challenges us to see ourselves and the world with this, sense of awe. Wonder.
It's all about, right?
So as we wrap up this deep dive into reincarnation,
Yeah.
I really encourage you to keep exploring this.
Yeah, there's so much out there.
Read Dr. Tucker's book. Look into the research.
Keep that curiosity alive.
And most importantly, just allow yourself to consider the possibilities.
What if it's real?
These cases offer a glimpse into this realm of mystery and wonder, right?
It's like opening a door to something we don't fully understand.
That challenges our assumptions and expands our understanding of what it means to be human.
And who knows, maybe this deep dive has sparked something in you, a desire to explore those uncharted territories of consciousness and the mysteries of being human.
Absolutely. Keep questioning, keep seeking, and keep an open mind to all those wonders that are out there. Thanks for joining us for this deep dive.
It's been a pleasure.